Welcome to our monthly Black Data Processing Associates meeting. And we're really happy that you all took time out of your schedule to come and share with us. And we hope we have an exciting presentation for you today. We have a panel discussion, and basically we're talking about entrepreneurship. The topic is, are we being left out of the Detroit business regrowth? So we'd like to welcome you. I'd like to ask you if you would put a name tag on just so we can get to know each other. So I'll pass these around so we can, so after we're done with the meeting, we'll hopefully have time to network, and so you can feel free to, you'll know each other. So let me start off by introducing our moderator for the panel discussion. And our moderator is Matthew Guillory, and he will introduce our panelists. Thank you.
All right, thanks again. Thanks, Leslie, and thanks to everyone for joining us for our meeting tonight. Again, my name is Matthew Guillory. I'm the Vice President of Business Management and President-elect for BDPA Detroit, and I'm also the moderator for tonight's panel discussion. What I'll really do is really introduce you to them by name, and then they'll kind of talk to us about their, their credentials and sort of what they're doing in the marketplace to drive their businesses. So first we have with us Terrence Willis. Terrence, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure. My name is Terrence Willis. I'm a co-founder and owner of IC Data Communications, which is an information technology managed services company. We provide IT services primarily to K-12 education and higher education, but also small, medium businesses, nonprofit organizations. We're based right here in Techtown. We've been in business since September of '04. We've done projects throughout the state of Michigan, throughout the United States, even as far away as West Africa. Personally, I was born and raised here in the city of Detroit. Went to Northwestern High School. I'm a veteran, father of 4, happily married, and somewhat of a serial entrepreneur since my first paper route back in the 80s, early 80s. I've owned several companies prior to IC Data Communications, and just here to share any advice or perspective that you guys give is valuable.
Thank you. We also have Jay Harrison.
Hi, my name is Jay Harrison. I'm also primarily from Detroit. I grew up here, went to Renaissance High School, and started a number of companies as well. I founded a robotics company called Deneb Robotics in '85, and what we did was 3D computer graphics simulation for the automotive and aerospace industry and energy industries. We grew that company up from 5 people to about 150 in 7 countries, and then sold it to Dassault Systems. They're now called Delmia, and they're in Troy. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. After that, I co-founded Internet Operations Center, which is a managed services provider and data center that was based in Southfield, Michigan, and ran that company for about 7 or 8 years. What we did there was similar to Terrence. We did managed services for automotive, healthcare, and education. We did all of the hosting for Visteon's e-commerce and internet infrastructure, and we did all of the email communications for Ford Motor Company for United States, Mexico, and Canada. As back in the day, it was called ASP, an application service provider. Now that's called cloud services or software as a service. It's all the same, just different names. After selling that company to another larger IT services company, I designed the system for the City of Detroit and Department of Justice to monitor the police department and their behavior, called the Management Awareness System. and now it's currently being used by over 6,000 personnel throughout the city to identify troubled behavior in individuals before it becomes a crisis. And my most recent endeavor is Ultimate Information Systems, and we've created a product called Grocery Ultimate. And what it does is ostensibly helps people shop easier. It uses a community model that allows you to enter your store, enter prices that you're interested in at that store, and anyone else who happens to go to that store will then reap the benefit of you actually using that, both in terms of pricing as well as aisle-by-aisle guidance to where things are. There's also a cloud component to the system that allows retailers to communicate better to you. If they've got a special sale coming on and you like their store, they can let you know that prices will be cheaper at a certain time or send special coupons directly to you. And then ultimately, the system will allow retailers to identify, what is the best way to market their, what are the best prices to hold, and what are the best ways to market to get your business. So I'm here to, again, to just give you insight into what it's taken to do those companies and whatever I can help.
All right, great. Well, thanks and welcome. And lastly, we have Alfred Green.
Yes, my name is Alfred Green. I'm been a long time admirer of BDPA. I've been involved from the, membership standpoint through NESB, and a couple of guys here introduced me to BDPA some years ago. My entrepreneurship slant is a little slightly different. My interest is free software and open source. I've been an evangelist for a number of different years, and it has since propelled me into opportunities to provide assistance to independent healthcare professionals. I'm primarily interested in electronic medical records, data encryption, things of that sort, file servers, and also all things that internet and web types of applications. By day, I work in product development space in the auto industry, so I'm not totally immersed in the entrepreneurship space in terms of having to support my lifestyle. So these guys have some years ahead of me there, and I'm sure share some experiences, some stories in that regard. But primarily, I'm also not a native Detroiter. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I've been in Michigan since '99, so I've understood some of the things that have propelled Michigan, or at least propelled Detroit to prominence in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of the tech space, and some of the things that it's missing. And so I'm interested in that dialogue tonight with these guys here, as well as sharing some of my experiences of how you can develop the fervor and the things that you need to propel yourself into the entrepreneurship space. So that's my story.
Great, thanks. So I think it's a good idea to just start off with making sure that everyone understands the goals for the session tonight. So really, I think we agree that we have a really broad sort of range of experiences here among the different, the three entrepreneurs that we'll be talking to, both in terms of kind of the scope of the business and the topic. We have mobile apps, managed services, infrastructure. But tonight we're really talking about the rebirth of Detroit and really focusing in on the question of whether African Americans are being left out. We know that everyone has an idea about that. It'd be interesting to see what they think about that topic from an entrepreneurship perspective. But really, when you think about it, I mean, we see on the news all the time. Quicken Loans is hiring 1,200, and they're doing it in downtown Detroit. Galaxy Systems is renting new office space, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield is moving downtown. But you really never see that big news article about a black-owned business. What are your thoughts on that, and are we being left out?
Take this one up first. I don't know.
I guess I'll start. Well, I do think that some people are left out, right? And some people are included. The real question is, why are some people left out, and why are others included? And just I guess the premise of the question itself, from my perspective, are black people being left out? I don't think that black is the criteria that determines why people are being left out. Anywhere in the world, but especially Detroit. I mean, because Detroit is, black people are the majority population here. So if something is going on here and we're being left out, I don't think it's because we're black. I think it's due to other factors, other things that are transpiring. And you know, if I had to venture to guess why some people are being left out, I think it's a consequence of prior actions, things that they have not done or things that they have done and continue to do or not do.
That prevents
that prevents them from being included, you know. So I mean, in short, you know, I think that people are being left out, but I don't think it has to do with black. Me personally, my perspective on Detroit and its rise, you know, because that's how I see Detroit. I see it going up. I mean, there's obviously been a decline, but I think the decline has slowed and ceased and begun to turn around. I think it's probably the best time in my life to be in Detroit, and you know, maybe ever to be in Detroit. And if I had to throw the race piece into it, it's probably the best time ever for black folks. You know,
Talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
Jay, did you have an idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing, as far as being left out, you got to consider when you mentioned that Blue Cross is hiring and Quicken Loans is hiring, that's good. But we're talking about entrepreneurship, and if you're an entrepreneur, you're not trying to get a job at Quicken Loans or Blue Cross. And so, as far as being left out, the idea is, what is your mindset? Do you want to do something your own? Do you want to be your own boss and deal with everything that takes? Or are you really just looking for a job? And so, so then the question of being left out is, are we being left out of getting those jobs at Blue Cross, or are you being left out of the greater thing of owning the next Quicken Loans or the next healthcare company? And so I say, in that regard, it's similar. It doesn't have to do with color. It has to do with drive. And I've been in the technology field for like ever. And so I've seen a number of cycles. I mean, I've seen the 80s where the PCs were just coming to be, and you kind of wanted to be in it, but you had to have some money because you had to buy the PC, you had to have the hardware and all of that stuff. But it was a boom time for creativity, and lots of millionaires got created. And then that kind of happened, and then we had the internet happening in the 90s. And again, it was a little bit better because you didn't really have to have a whole lot of money. It did help, and you just had to be wily and think about a way of making money with this new opportunity. And it didn't take as much startup as it did in the first time. Now here we are with mobile, and I'm keeping with the technology thing, and the internet. You're tying computers and you're tying the internet together. And by the way, it's largely free or cheap. And so, as Terrence said, this is probably the best time if you want to jump up and start something new, because you don't have to, and because of the communications, with my company, I've got a person in Cincinnati, I've got somebody in India, I've got somebody in New York, and we're all working together, and we're not paying crazy amounts of money to make it happen. We use freeconferencecall.com, we use TeamViewer to do collaborative viewing, so we've got this virtual company with effectively zero startup costs besides your communications. And so, if people are being left out, as Terrence said, is their mindset. I don't think that there's a really good reason for people to be left out at this point.
Yeah, and I would certainly have to agree with Jay. I think it's just a matter of what it is that interest you. You know, we were talking earlier about the things that, if we're talking about black folks, which we are, what black folks are interested in. You know, if you're interested in gadgets, that's all good and well, but maybe you should be interested in how they operate. What is it in the core of those devices that make them interesting to people that will purchase them? I think if you have that mindset going in, you won't feel as though you're being left behind, because you'll always be empowered or powered by what it is that you know, what it is you own. Right? If you're just simply interested in data brokers, like, you know, whatever G Plus is doing today, whatever Facebook is doing today, and just be a user of the technology, or whatever you want to call that, those social networks, you'll always be behind the curve, because you'll be just a consumer rather than somebody who owns something that's valuable, owning the stack, understand how the stack works. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things you can do is whatever interests you today. If you have the wrong, I guess, slant or the wrong idea in terms of how you think you can leverage it, then you'll always be struggling to
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to push forward the point of entrepreneurship, which is what we're talking about. And what is that, and what does it take? And are certain people want to do that, and some people don't. Some people really like knowing that they've got a steady job, and they can count on that for X number of years. They can get, when pensions are gone, but you've got something you can count on. As an entrepreneur, it's a constant headache, right? You don't necessarily know, or once you do get up to a point of sustainability, then your concern every day is about all of those people who are now working for you. Because if you make a wrong move, you're going to have to fire some of them. And that is not a pleasant experience. And so you get the perks of owning the company and making the extra money and calling the shots. But you also have the constant concern and worry and having to figure out what is that next move. Because you've always got to make a turn. You've always got to be agile and make a move, because the market is always moving, no matter what market you're in. If you're doing technology or you're doing cleaning services, you've got to adjust. And as the owner of that company, it's your job to always do that and think about it. And so the first question I'd say that people need to ask themselves is this me? Is this what I want to do? And then, start taking the steps it takes to make your own company and to make that happen. And it's easy enough to make a company, to create one in Michigan and all of that. But you've got to have a plan. You've got to know what you're doing. And I guess we're going to get to some other things. I want to get ahead.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. But one interesting thing that I think everyone agrees with is that this is less about skin color and more about mindset. So I guess to kind of follow up on that thought, what are the behaviors that you have, or the habits that you have that sort of help you to be a successful entrepreneur?
Well, oftentimes when I'm talking to people about, very similar topics, like, what's going on, and trying to encourage people that, despite what may be happening in the economy or the job market, the sense of entitlement that people have that someone else is responsible for. I'd like to share a perspective that I have, which is, we're all given this gift of life. We happen to be born in a time where there is, a society around us, and we take a lot of things for granted. The fact that we live in Detroit and it's made up of, organizations, institutions and things we take for granted, that the luxuries that we have we're somehow entitled to. But really, if we were in the middle of the wilderness with nothing but our life, we should be grateful. We have the price that we pay for that gift of life every day is to go out and produce. At least that's what's necessary to survive, right? So the ideal that we're in this society, we live in this society, doesn't take away that responsibility. I still have an obligation to be independent enough to sustain myself. And if I'm interacting with the rest of this community, at least be able to produce enough to bring value to my participation, right? So I think if people woke up every morning and they understood that I have a price to pay, every day, and if I'm fortunate enough to have a wife and children, then I need to be able to provide for them. And if I live on a block, I have a responsibility to my next door neighbor. I have a responsibility to my overall community, to my country, to the entire planet. And I use that to govern myself. And then it sort of gets rid of that idea that holds back a lot of people. Then you can't sit around and wait for the phone to ring or for an email to pop in your box to tell you what to do. Because at the core of being an entrepreneur, you don't take for granted that someone else is going to give you instruction. You understand what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to do, and the responsibility falls on you every day to do whatever is necessary. And once you change that mindset, it actually becomes pretty rewarding in and of itself. Me personally, I enjoy the uncertainty of what the future may bring. It's exciting. So.
Yeah, I think that Terrence touched on one really, really key issue, and I know it's something that always drives me, is I believe that entrepreneurs have an obligation to produce. We're producers. This is what we do. We got to make stuff. We got to do stuff. We can't just be consumers and sit back. I know I'm not comfortable doing that. And so the behaviors that you have to have determination, because there'll be a lot of people who don't believe in whatever it is you're believing in and you think you can do. And there'll be 1,000 reasons why it won't work. you've got to have drive to go through all of that stuff and deal with the first and the 10th issue that you run into. And then you've got to have discipline. As Terrence said, every day you got to get up and say, okay, what am I going to do to push this forward today? You know, you can't just let it float around because it will go nowhere. And so, I mean, I think those are really key behavioral patterns, is that an entrepreneur really, really wants to make something.
Right, and to that point, it's almost like a shift, right? Because I think, to Terrence's point, there's something really individualistic about going and getting a job and going to the desk and sitting at the desk until someone tells you what to do, because you're only sort of focused on yourself. Is there a shift that you have to make from consumer to like producer, or was that always just kind of natural?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say that, to the point, I believe you first have to have an itch that you want scratched, right? And my thing was, I knew at the time when I decided to start doing my business, I knew no one that really had a fashion or an affinity for free software open source, let alone be able to use that skill set to kind of integrate business processes. There wasn't really anybody doing that sort of thing. So I said, no one's doing it. The Geek Squad has no clue. They don't know what they're doing. So there's got to be a room for me to get out there and get my value proposition to the world. And that's pretty much what inspired me to keep going and doing it. Besides, my wife is also one of my first clients, one of the earlier clients back then before we got married. So that also helped me, because there's a lot of people like her running independent healthcare clinics that didn't have any IT professionals, didn't know how to integrate anything. So I knew there was a business model out there that I could utilize. But the other piece of it is there a shift, to your question. Absolutely. I mean, because you've seen it right now. I mean, right now, what I have viewed in the last several years I've been in Detroit is this whole idea of people thinking about technology as being relevant. Knowing that the manufacturing jobs are going offshores, right? The strength and the colossal nature of the auto industry is being diminished. And it's quite humbling to watch all that, especially if you're in the automotive space and you see that. It's like, gosh, years ago, if you were working for the auto industry, you weren't working in Michigan. You weren't working in Detroit. And you consider, people working. It's changing now. There's people coming in who, from other countries, other cities, coming to Michigan, coming to Detroit in particular, starting their own businesses, looking at ways to leverage the landscape to their advantage, coming up with different ideas. And there's all kinds of initiatives now, so there's certainly a shift. Now, the question is, where is the desire for people of color to get in there and become part of that game? Become part of that whole crust, if you will, or thrust, I should say, of creating new things, creating new ideas, new value propositions. What's the next frontier?
I want to add to that just a little. I think more people are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial than you can tell on the surface. I think inside of a lot of people, there's a desire to do exactly that, to create something. They have ideas that are given to them. I personally believe, by the Almighty, we have these visions and ideals, and we neglect to nurture those things and act on them because we've been either frightened to do it, by the established, knowledge base, and things that we've been indoctrinated to believe, that most businesses fail, which may be true, may not be, but a lot of things, frighten people so they don't move on them. Or we've been extremely comfortable. And today in Michigan, you see, as a matter of fact, African Americans in general are the fastest group in terms of starting businesses. And Michigan leads the way in that because of those safety nets or security blankets have been kind of snatched away from us. And we've been somewhat forced, and the fear is dissolving because people have lost what they were afraid of losing. And they woke up the next day and the world didn't come to an end, so they realized, okay, I don't have to be so afraid. What I feared the most in the last 20 years, it's already happened. So,
or it could be that they're unemployed, And what are they going to do? This is the perfect opportunity now to go ahead and chase that little dream that you never could do because you were making a pretty good salary. And it took some time to do this, so I'm not going to go ahead and create the next beer tap. But you know, now I'm sitting home, I've got nothing to do, and so you know, this adversity is somewhat the mother of invention. And so again, I mean, but then people again have to decide, is this something that they want to do? But once they decide it, once you've decided in your heart, whatever, and the idea is, being an entrepreneur doesn't mean stepping off a cliff. You know, again, I gave the example if you're unemployed, then you know it's a slam dunk because you're getting paid anyway. So, but you could, even if you're working at something, depending on what you're trying to do, you can take little steps to move that forward. And then once it makes a certain threshold, okay, now I'm going to quit my day job. You know, and that's completely doable. And so you mitigate the risk. Your business may not start off as fast as if you dedicated 100% of your time and 5 employees that you hired, but at the same time, you won't be out of $150,000 and without a job. So, you know, it's doable. And so once you've decided, you know, that you want to do it, then, you know, then there's steps that you need to take. And you'd be surprised how many people want to do a business and don't have a business plan, you know, or know what a business plan really entails or what it should contain.
You know, let's kind of I guess talk about the environment a little bit, because the business environment, because you said earlier that this is a really good time for African Americans to get into, you know, some type of entrepreneurial venture. Let's kind of talk about that. Like, what makes it such a good?
Well, I think there's a couple aspects. When I was speaking earlier, I said I don't think there's ever been a better time. I stayed in the city of Detroit, and the reason being is that, you know, we're all surviving day to day, you know, whatever we're doing. So if the choice is, you know, do I leave my day job and start this business that I've always wanted to, you know, how conducive is the environment to that? Well, right now, the reason why Galaxy Solutions and other companies are beginning to move to Detroit is because the cost of living here is very, very low. You know, I could, you know, this, I could imagine, you know, being in Brooklyn, you know, or you know, Manhattan or somewhere else and having to, you know, make that decision. I'm going to leave my job that's paying my bills, you know, because the cost of living is so much higher. Right now, you know, worst case scenario, I mean, you know, housing is cheap, you know, it's an environment that is underserved. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do entrepreneurially. So if you committed to that idea that I described before, that every day I'm going to get up and be useful to somebody, somebody's going to use your services. I'll give you a real world example of what I mean, right? And I told this story, it's funny because I recalled this story and told it to someone earlier today. About 2 years ago, I was on East Jefferson at a McDonald's, and it was wintertime. Young man comes rushing through the door. I'm waiting for my food to be prepared. As he comes through the door, he's taking off his coat. He's kind of rushing, and I see that he's an employee. He goes behind the counter, and he says, I'm sorry, I'm late. I just came from my closing, right? So it piqued my attention. I said, wow, wait a minute. Young guy, about 21, 20 years, you know, clean cut, you know, well-spoken, you know, handsome young man, working at McDonald's, maybe like, what was his name, Calvin, back in the day?
Yeah, Calvin.
But anyway, let's call him Calvin. Calvin says, you know, I just came from my closing, and he's excited. He says, my house note is going to be $127 a month. I said, wow. Wow. You know, I know when I was making the decision to move from corporate America to being an entrepreneur, you know, full-time, you know, I got to the point to where my little side business was already making double what I was making at work. You know, it was kind of holding on to that security blanket. And I sat back and I really thought about it. And I said, well, you know, little money that I'm bringing home in this check is paying my car note, you know, it's paying, you know, several bills that if I simply said things that I could do without, comforts, right? So my worst case scenario was, if I walk away from my job, I just can't have these comforts anymore. But I get back more time, 40 hours a week, that I'm dedicating. I'm doing my business part-time, and I'm giving 40 hours a week in a job. And Jay, I knew Jay at the time, as a matter of fact. I knew Jay then. And he was actually an inspiration to me, right? Because in my day job, his company, IOC, was a vendor. So I would visit IOC, and I would see Jay doing all these great things, and you know, I think we went to lunch one time in your Lotus, and I said, wow, this is what I want to do, and he did it. And what I found, the thing that was keeping me from doing it was fear of losing a navigator, and fear of losing, you know, the ability to spend money, you know, on things that weren't really adding a whole lot of value anyway, and sacrificing my dream. Shortly after that, I made the decision that, you know what, you know, if I lost those things, if I couldn't do more with this additional 40 hours I had a week to bring in enough money to keep those things, I walk away. So looking at Detroit right now, the cost of living is even lower. You know, if you can't own a home in Detroit right now, you know, you may have to make some choices, but you know, it's a much better environment than it used to be in terms of cost of living. So I think, you know, if the worst case scenario is you think you're going to be in the gutter, you know, with raining and, you know, a dog licking you in the face or something like that. I mean, I just don't see where, you know, a capable person with a useful skill set is going to find themselves in that situation. And really, to be honest with you, employers are always looking for people. So, you know, a job may not be readily available, but, you know, at some point you'll get hired to another job if you walk away from it. So I just, that's for those reasons, that's why I think it's a great environment.
Yeah, again, one of the reasons why I think it's great now is because just the cost of doing business, depending on which business it is. But if it's got anything to do with interacting with people, it's easier and cheaper than it's ever been, you know, in the past. There are no concepts of a long-distance telephone call anymore, right? Everybody does video conferencing, so that's not a problem. Everybody can do shared whiteboarding, so the whole collaboration of what it takes to get your people together to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, it's just really, really easy to do no matter where they are. And so I guess my push is not so much as that it's easier to be dispersed now. And if you look at how things come together, it's really distributed systems, I think, and distributed processes and methods that drive businesses. The ability, the amount of analytic information that you can get, the amount of research that you can do about your business, about your competitors. You used to have to go, I mean, you couldn't even go, you go to the library, you get magazines to look up what your competitors are doing or whatever else like this. Now, within, you know, 2 hours, you know everything about them. And, you know, one of the things that I did before I developed this app is I looked at 95 different grocery shopping apps and created a matrix and found out what all they were good and they were not good at. And that was the basis of me designing my system. And so before, you just couldn't do stuff like that. And that's, yeah, it has to do with apps, but whether it's, you know, any type of services, you know, just about anything, even fast food, how do you run a restaurant? You can go and find best practices and real-world examples of people doing things just like you're doing and see what not to do. Whereas before, you know, you could waste easily $30,000, $50,000 on mistakes that you can avoid now with about 3 days of research. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it's a great time right now to be able to start a business.
The whole idea of being able to forecast your ideas to many people, you know, with social media and things of that nature, it becomes very easy to make yourself known. You know, even if you may not have a finished, polished product like Jay has, what have you, you can still get your ideas out there or find out what others are doing. And no one really starts from ground zero anymore. Everybody borrows from other ideas that are already out there. The idea of free software is already ideas that are polished, that are already out there. You know, maybe not 100% polished, so there's an opportunity there for you, right? So you take it and you build on top of what's available. So there's no better time than the present time.
Well, okay, makes sense. So let's ask everyone. So do we have any entrepreneurs in the room? Okay, a couple. All right, cool. Two. So most of us are not entrepreneurs. So, but let's say we have this great idea. Like I can really see myself doing X and making money with it. Right? What are the next steps? So I've got that idea, but Detroit's really big. This area is really big. The world is big. How do I kind of focus in and
I think you start off by writing it up. You know, you articulate your idea on paper, so you know. I mean, it will help you. I generally, the way I do, I start with a mind map first to figure out where it's going. So I say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and then I do a mind map off of it, and dependencies that they're going to have and stuff like that. And then I'm able to spatially look at it and say, okay, what am I going to tackle first? And then that thing that you've written up, that you've drawn graphically, I turn that down into now a piece of paper that someone else can now just read and understand what I'm talking about. And then you take that and you boil it down to what is it going to take to make that happen in each one of those sections. And when you say what is it going to take, that's personnel, that's hardware, and ultimately it's funds, or how it's going to get done. And you'd be surprised at the number of people. I mean, one of the things you need to know is, let's say if you're going to get funding, how much money do you need, right? Which is completely different, or can be completely different from how much money do you want. Because how much money do you need is justified on paper. I have to hire these 5 people. They're going to be working for this amount of time. This is how much you're going to pay them. This is the amount of time that they're going to work. These are the things they're going to do. This is how much that stuff that they're going to do is going to sell for. And this is how much revenue is going to bring in. And at the end of the day, this is how much my profit's going to be. So you have all of that, from the mind map to that full thing. Someone else can look at it and say, okay, I see why you need the 50,000, 100,000, or whatever you need. And I feel confident that it's not just going to go into your, casino pocket. No pocket. So that's, I think, some of the steps that I would go through. And then, when you go through all of that, and you see the resources, and you see the things that you need, the hardware, and all of this, that in itself will drive you towards those next steps. Finding out, do I know someone who's good at marketing, and seeing how you can finagle that deal. So.
Any other thoughts on some of the next steps?
I agree with what Jay said 100%. So I'm going to kind of take it to another level of what I think is necessary. And part of that first step is you have to commit. And that might sound like kind of like, oh yeah, of course. But what does that really mean? I mean, when you set out, if you quit, you're going to fail. It's the way I see it. I'm a huge boxing fan. I boxed for a little while at Crunk Gym actually, and just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, Emmanuel Stewart was buried. And while I was sitting there at his funeral, I had a lot of time to kind of reflect on this very thing, right? Because boxing is the perfect analogy to life, in my opinion, or being an entrepreneur. And I think that you have to make a commitment that you're not going to stop, and that's easy to say. I'm going to do this. Is something that I'm going to do when you're not feeling pain, right? Mm-hmm. But when you take a left hook to the body, if you've never everything, it's the type of pain when you're caught and you don't see it, and it hits you off guard. It's the kind of pain that you hear, almost like you hear a sound like, ding, right? And everything in your body says stop, and you might even fall to the ground. But having that ability to say, I'm going to get up. I'm not. You can't lose if you don't get up. Even if the final bell rings and you lose the decision, only until you say, I'm not going to come back again, have you really lost. I might have lost that fight, but I'm still in it. So I think that's key, to it, because what you write down that first time might not make sense. It might not be immediately clear. That process could be as simple as, sometimes you get blessed with an idea that's so clear that you can go through the process that Jay spelled out, you see it all. But sometimes, you get to writing and you find a problem, a flaw. You get frustrated because you got this passion. You feel like it was your calling. You really want to make it happen. You see the end result that you can make it all make sense, but it's just not there. And if you faint of heart, person that's easily deterred, well, a lot of times people quit at that point. Because your auntie comes over and looks at it and says, "Oh, that'll never work." They quit. So you have to be determined that when you have those superficial challenges or the real big challenges, that you're going to keep on going no matter what. That you're going to keep on fighting. So I think that's all. You have to actually commit to this thing and say it's something that you're going to do. I think if you do that, it's just success. One way or another, you're successful. I have a lot of plans for my business and even other businesses after this one, right? Long-term, plans. Who knows? Tomorrow's not guaranteed, but I love it. I enjoy so much time that I've spent. And if those things don't come to pass the way that I see them, you know, I think on my last days, I'm going to really be grateful that I made the choice to do it. So.
There's one thing that it's taken me a while to figure out how to get beyond is this whole idea of paralysis and analysis. As an engineer, you know, I typically look at things a lot of different angles. You know, like they say, you break the mind map out. You know, you do your mind map, you look at all the different options there. You know, you start looking at, okay, well how do I get my, you know, my marketing research done? You know, how will I do that? You know, so there's so many different things you can get into before you know it. You spent several months trying to figure out that best idea, if it's going to work its way out or not. There's some sort of book I read or I heard something about. It's like, you know, come up with a business idea. You have 5 minutes. Write down 15 different things you can do to make money. You know, 5 minutes or 5 seconds, whatever it is. And those type of exercises help you zero in on how to go forward, rather than sitting there and thinking about 1,000 different ways that you can fail, 1,000 different ways that you have to deal with your market and your competition. So paralysis analysis is something really key to keeping people from actually making any progress.
Makes sense, makes sense. Let's be honest, it's, at the end of the day, you gotta pay the bills, right? So you wanna make money, so let's kind of talk about that a bit. So let's say I'm a person who has a great idea, or maybe I have a really good skill set. So I'm a good programmer, database administrator, infrastructure guy. I have no idea about how to get clients, or how to go and get some customers. How do you do that? How do you manage through the...
You can take that one first.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think that, okay, here I go again with all these analogies, right? But, you know, I was watching the nature show one time, and this guy said something on the nature show, right? He said that he was talking about the inside of the volcano, right? These extreme temperatures. And there's this nutrients that comes up out of the earth. And he made a statement, he said that everywhere on the planet Earth, that there's something to eat. There's something to eat it, even in these extreme environments, right? So if it's the bottom of the ocean, or the middle of a volcano, or the top of Mount Everest, if there's something to value there, there's something there to exploit it, right? So I kind of changed that around a little bit to say that if there's something of use somewhere, there's someone to use it. So if we make ourselves something that's of use, you know, I think at the basis of every entrepreneur is what problem you're solving, right? Again, which speaks to the environment that we live in right now in Detroit, because I know a lot of people look out the window and they don't see this great environment that I see. But, you know, the entrepreneur looks at problems and says these are opportunities, right? So if you create a solution to a problem, whether it's in technology or if it's in cutting grass, there's a lot of grass in this city needs to be cut, you know. So what I've found in actual real world scenarios is that when I've created a capacity to solve a problem in my company, it's not magic, but I can't really even explain it. Somehow the opportunities are drawn. They come. I mean, you know, we have never really, we've probably done, if I had to rate our marketing since day one, I would probably give us a D. You know, and it's not because we don't know how to do better, but because, you know, that's just not a challenge. In this city, in this environment, you know, if you make yourself useful, somehow it just comes. People call referrals. You know, the word gets out, and those things are drawn to you. The problems that you solve are drawn to you. So hopefully, you know, everybody can accept that answer. I mean, it doesn't sound too mystical or anything, but you know, really, that's how it is. I mean, if you step out on faith and you're in the right place, the opportunities are going to come to you. And of course, I mean, you know, there's plenty of, you know, marketing resources around. You know, if you're thinking about how am I going to get this business and where is it going to come from, you know, probably, I guess, a more practical response to your question would be tap into the resources that are there. You know, I mean, TechTown, Michigan Small Business Technology Development, you know, tons of resources around that will tell you textbook, you know, how do you market, you know, plenty of marketing companies around, collaborate, you know, just get Facebook, give me whatever, you know, there's many ways to get what you're doing. If you're doing something, though, that is really has value, somehow people are going to find out about it and they're going to use it.
I guess, how do you get clients? I don't want to go in a circle, but the first thing you got to know is who are your clients. And I know what your business is, but whatever your business is who are your clients. You know, if you're in IT services, you have to identify them. So one way, if you don't really know exactly who your clients would be, if let's say you're a developer, programmer, or something. Well, let's not go there. Let's go something else, like an IT services company. I'm familiar with that. One way of finding out who your clients are is who are your competitors, right? So clearly, I mean, this is part of the basic research that you do when you start your company is identifying, you know, what services are you going to offer, and you got to have some idea, like you said, that there is a need for those services, right? And then, are there other companies that offer services similar to you? Because that's going to be your competitive environment, right? What are they doing? Are they successful or not? Where are they successful at? Who are their customers? Are these customers that you would like to have? What are the demographics of their customers? What are they like? Are they a lot of hospitals? Are they a lot of schools? Are they a lot of lawyers' offices? Whatever. And so, if that is, you know, who their clients are, and you feel that that's who you're going after. Now that you know who your clients are, then you know you can find many ways. Again, you can hire a marketing company, or if you're going to do it yourself, how do these people get their information? How did that client of your competitor get connected to your competitor? So you can either analyze those methods or find out where these people hang. You know, if they all go to some law website, then you know. So you find out who your clients are. You find out what influences their decisions, and then you insert yourself into that stream of information, and then they will come to you, as Terrence said at that point.
Well, I like to think of marketing as conversations. So you have to find out what people are talking about, and based upon what Jay was saying, you know, what is it that you offer? What is your value proposition? Find out what people are talking about. Is your value proposition something that's on the tongue of a lot of people? So, you know, whether you're data mining social media, you know, there's so much data out there. It's incredible, you know, for you to actually go out there and data mine and find information. You know, I read a book called Food Train Manifesto, and it talked about a lot of different ways that you can find out what people are saying, get part of that conversation, find out where those markets are, and then become part of that conversation. So if you, for instance, in my business, you know, I'm into independent healthcare professionals. So, you know, I find out where they have their conversations, whether it be mailing lists, whether it be social media networks, whether it be Facebook. There's a ton of data out there. You know, and spend your time just doing some data mining of that information. Kind of tell you what's most relevant conversation. Find out what people will pay for. What is it that you offer that they're willing to pay for? If you don't know what they're willing to pay and what they find valuable, then you're going to be spinning your wheels off. So spend a little time doing that data mining and get a lot of information out, a lot of rich information out there.
It makes sense. I just want to ask one more question and then open it up to everyone. So I guess I assume as an entrepreneur, you've had some late nights sometimes where you've been worried. What's kept you up at night as an entrepreneur?
Well, I would say in many cases, my wife is also an entrepreneur. She's what I would say, like these two gentlemen are the pure entrepreneurs, whereas their business actually finances their lifestyle. Okay, so in her case, making payroll. Okay, because that is always the thing that will keep you up at night. In some cases, how you make payroll, especially if a lot of people that depend upon their lifestyle on your business, your income. So in some cases, you got to figure out how are you best going to differentiate yourself so that payroll's not about, because obviously you have to differentiate yourself from your competition. What is it that you're going to be able to do that's going to allow you to be differentiated and be the game changer? What is that business portion of your business that's just going to just change the face of what it is you do, differentiate yourself from competition? How do you do that?
Well, I would definitely say that making payroll is something that's very important to me. But again, I'm just this person of faith, and I don't know. I mean, it always works out. I think that aside from the things that you may worry about that keep you up at night, oftentimes the abundance of potential in things that you can do and the limited time that you have to actually do it sometimes makes me feel guilty when I go to sleep. I really feel like, time is the most valuable thing that we all have, and it's just hard, based off of all the things that are left to do, to actually say, I'm going to take a break, and I think that translates not only in sleep, but eating, going to the doctor, all those things. And, I guess I want to just kind of tell you how I've chosen to deal with that, because it is real. I mean, you can't neglect yourself or get stressed out trying to do it all. And I realize the importance of collaboration and understanding that you can't do it all by yourself. If you have a true vision that's worth anything, it's going to require that you interact with other people and understanding how to create, true win-win, synergistic, collaborative efforts is key. And that's kind of how I'll counteract, that, is saying, well, yeah, this is a great idea. It's worth putting energy into, and being determined, and investing money and time and everything else. But who else can I empower to join in the work, and then also, sharing the rewards of it. So,
For me, I'd say that the thing that keeps me up at night most is work, because you got stuff to do. But other than that, I mean, it's more like, what is immediately on your mind, ding, when you wake up in the morning, all this stuff you got to do. So for that, the things that, I think about is resources and people, motivating them to do what you need them to do, making sure that they, that they're doing it and they're going to continue. I worry about delivery, getting things out on time, making due dates. And again, that comes back to the resources, people, and work. And I think more than anything else is what the next move is. What should I be doing right now? That, is, okay, am I really doing the most efficient thing to move my stuff forward? And I find myself oftentimes re-evaluating that constantly to make sure that I'm on the right path and not just down some tangent. Because when you're an entrepreneur and you're doing that drive, you got that determination, you're not going to quit, right? You're going to stand up. You want to make sure you're not going down that craggly road to the volcano, right? So you got to really think about what you're doing and make sure you make the right turn when you're supposed to.
Makes sense. So, any questions?
Who in here is single? Anyone is single? Got any single friends? Great! I'm having a speeddateflaw.com that is newly functioning, and I need to hustle clients. So I'm wondering how y'all hustle.
how to find clients.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
for your speed dating thing.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
No, you got it.
Okay, well, what would I do, I guess, if I were you? Let's see. Well, I would go to a place where I know there's going to be a lot of single people, right? Like
Comet Bar?
Huh?
Comet Bar?
The Comet Bar? I don't even know the Comet Bar. Where is it? But
Cass Corridor.
oh, okay. Well, that's perfect. That was, there's a lot of single people around here, so I would kind of, figure out what these single people like to do, where they hang out. I would go there and I would do exactly what you just did, which is ask. Ask. Don't be afraid of no. Every person that might potentially, be a client or a prospective, participant in your event, ask. Ask. If you have to go through 100 no's to get to the one yes, then embrace every no, because you're just one closer to where you have to be. So find where the people are and don't be afraid to do exactly. I don't think just based off of the nature in which you asked your question, I don't think you would have a challenge.
I take a little. First I look at your business and say, how many people do you need in your speed dating community?
20. 10 men, 10 women.
I'm saying, period. That's just maybe for one gig. I'm talking ongoing for the next X number of years. What's your churn rate? How much money are you making off of these people?
So I remember at first you said that what works and what doesn't work. So I'm an economist by training. This is part of my question. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
Sure.
So in economics, we learn price discrimination, and then I keep thinking about it in my late night, and I'm like, what kind of people are going to be price discriminated? Like, if I'm going to charge more at the door, am I going to attract more desperate people or not? So I don't really want that to happen. And so I'm going to keep it simple for me, and then I'm going to go back and survey them. Do you think that would be a better idea, or do you think I should do price discrimination?
Well, okay, I would say survey is a great idea, because, I would go to Eastern Market as an example. Tons of single people out there, believe it or not. I'm serious. I'm serious. You go down to Eastern Market, you can just sit there, write up a quick survey based upon, something that would capture gender, something to capture demographic, and then you can basically fashion off of something like, fruit or vegetable. Indirect type of marketing would work also to get the demographics you want. Or it can be direct like, you're doing now and say, hey, you know what, I'm doing a speed dating thing. Would you be interested in doing it? That might be the better approach, depending upon what you're looking at. But go ahead, Jay, I'm sorry.
Again, my concern would be, again, what's the long-term goal of this? How much are you trying to make a year? How many people do you have to interact with over the year to make the number that you want? So the first thing I do is I get in front of as many singles as possible. What do singles do? They read the Metro Times in Real Detroit, for example. You can place an ad there and you reach thousands of people that you might not be able to do if you do it on your person. I mean, even in your experience, if you go to a given club and you do your spiel, how many people do you pick up? How much time did it take you to do that? How sustainable is that situation? And if it's sustainable, if you average like 50 people per club, and that's fine for you. But if you're only getting 3 or 4 people and you got to go to a lot of places, you could get run down by the time that happens. And so I would look for something that might scale better. So get mass communication out to get to all of the people who's got to be that. Let them then come to you, advertise your meetups, and then have them show up there. And then you can do a lot of you could start off with them being free or very low cost, so then you get a chance to do that survey and then get the real feedback as to what their price sensitivity would be.
For those who have single friends, sign up sheet right here. Put your mailing list, put your email address down. I'll add you to the list, and you can forward it to your friends.
I would say put something on meetup.com.
Yeah, I'm actually presenting on the next Startup Lean Circle because I realize that a lot of entrepreneurs are single, and so I'm going to present there to probably get an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Any?
Hi, my name is Dottie, and I have a couple of questions. First of all, what is a mind map?
Oh, mind map is it's a way of expressing ideas. You generally start with like a main topic and you put it in the middle. So I'm going to call mine, for this product, for Grocery Ultimate. In the middle I had Grocery Ultimate, right? And then what does Grocery Ultimate do? Well, it lets you add products to your list. So I do that as a little bubble off of this main center. So it lets you add products. Now to add products, what do I need to add products? Oh, I'm going to have a product database. So that comes off of here. I'm also going to have a presentation, and so things like that. Similarly, for this Grocery Ultimate, I'm going to have a marketing plan in order to market it. From the marketing plan, I will need to have different things in that regard. So they all spin off from this. And so this can easily be turned into an outline, and then you can use it as a bullet list of things to do. And you can flesh it out and give it more and more detail as you go. You don't have to do it all at once. It's an easy way of organizing your thoughts.
So is that something that's online?
You can buy, there's lots of mind mapping programs out there. It is a technique.
Oh, okay. I don't want to buy another.
No, this is not a free.
It's a free, that's what I'm saying, free.
This go ahead.
Okay. I'll find it.
BYM.
Google's always free,
Oh, okay.
but to keep track of your
I use
data.
Mind Mapper.
Yeah, there's an open source one. You should know that.
Yeah, keep in mind.
Go to SourceForge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not in technology no more,
Yeah,
so it's,
Again, you don't have to have a piece of software to do it all.
okay.
Yeah. And Visio, if you use Visio, it has a mind map template as well.
Oh, okay, thank you. My second question is, for all three of you, have you incorporated youth in terms of mentoring and learning how to be an entrepreneur? Because I am a community activist builder / and I've run across a lot of people that do not have that mindset. And again, it goes back to the fear of starting something and not having anything started with not knowing. But in terms of youth, do any of you help youth to see if they have that mindset, and if they do, to nurture it?
Well, at my church, Citadel of Faith,
Okay.
I'm responsible for the tech ministry there.
Okay.
And what we do there is we pretty much get young men and women interested in technology, in whatever facet it might be, whether it's audio, sound, whatever the case is. And through that interaction, I always slip in computing in there because, you know, you'll be able to store data,
Okay.
you'll be able to pull data on file servers and stuff like that. And it's through that type of interaction that I get an idea of people who are interested in that sort of thing. And then pretty much they're looking for somebody to show them. How do I hack? You know, what is hacking? You know, and why is that relevant? Why is that important? And so I love doing that, and working with youth and teaching them, because that's you know, the whole idea of going forward and learning by doing. You know, because like I said, I don't have a traditional computer science background. You know, I learn by doing. You know, so a lot of kids out there are doing it that way too. They're looking at YouTube to figure out how stuff is done, you know, or they're looking at something else. You know, you can get online courseware from MIT as an example to learn how stuff works. So yeah, absolutely, that's the way I would do that.
Yeah, that's something that we do as well. IC Datacom, we mentor. We have high school interns, from University Prep, from Detroit Crystal Ray High School, from Plymouth Education Center, just about anybody who's willing to send a young person to us. We have college levels.
Oh, okay.
We have a relationship with ITT Tech, with Focus Hold, Kaplan Institute. So we try to be involved in those types of programs. We also have an event that we normally do on Thursday nights here. It's not every Thursday, but we try to do 2-3 times a month that we call the Emerging Technology Showcase, where we're just sharing information about new technologies, both the technical aspect of it and the entrepreneurial side of it. Because there's one term that we've kind of rejected, which is the ideal of competition. In this environment, we really don't feel that there's more opportunity in IT specifically than there are service providers to go after it. So there's a whole lot of underserved clients out here, and our personal challenge has always been really exploiting the opportunities that were presented to us because of a lack of human resources oftentimes. So we really encourage collaboration. So that's why we feel that mentoring is very important, because ultimately it becomes a pool. We might create 3 or 4, 5, 6, 10 quote unquote competitors, but we're also creating people who can collaborate with us one way or another, whether they're employees or subcontractors or clients. Some of them could become clients. Yeah, we engage in that type of activity quite a bit. And really, we're looking to expand upon that with a concept that we call the IT Dojo, which is an environment where technicians can, it's an environment that cultivates that type of entrepreneurial, technological development 24 hours a day. Just like Kwai Chang Caine goes to the Shaolin Temple and becomes, a kung fu master or whatever. That's the same thing that we're trying to do with IT entrepreneurs.
And similarly, in my past companies at Internet Operations Center, we had interns for high school and college. And since leaving that, I've provided a number of mentorships. I've done a number of mentorships, as well as been active in Invent America, which is you're familiar with that. I've judged that a number of times. And so yeah, and what actually we're trying to do right now is get BDPA to kind of be a conduit for young people, and we're working together to try to pull something like that together here.
Okay.
Jay's a mentor of mine, so he may not even know it, but he's definitely an example of a successful entrepreneur. So.
Thank you.
So any more questions about?
I have a question for Jay. You said first you locate your clients, and then you find out how they make the decisions. So how do you go about finding out how your clients make the decisions?
Well, if you're going to take this, for example, in my latest thing here, I've got two sets of clients. Well, I've got a number of set of clients, but one set of my clients are consumers. I want you to download my app. It's free, doesn't have any advertisement. If you have an Android phone, please download it. And so to communicate to the consumers, which is one of my customer sets, I've created a website with good search engine optimization so it comes up well in Google when you're looking for grocery-related things. Created a Facebook page that then links to the website and has likes and things like this on it, Twitter site, to try to communicate to the public at large. My bread and butter are the retailers and the manufacturers. So to communicate to them, I know that they join the Grocery Marketing Association, for example, and the Food Producers Association of America. There's a number of industry organizations that have conventions and events that I will then go to and try to get presentation space at or give talks at. I will try to communicate them by putting my information on blogs that I know these grocery type people go to, these websites that grocers go to, so that they see my company name and become more familiar with it. So that's how I try to go after my customers, and then engaging a marketing person to do a bit more targeting, to do stuff that I can understand. So that's how I went about it with this. So again, first, identify who my customers were, find out what's their information stream, and try to insert myself into that information stream. And once they find out what I'm about, then the product should stand on its own and show that it's better than anything else they've got, and then they should just buy my products or use my services or whatever.
Can I add to that? Well, I think that most importantly, any business relationship is just that, it's a relationship, right? Whether it's a 5-minute relationship or a 20-year relationship. And just like in any other relationship, it's all about communication, right? And it's not always around a particular transaction. So once you know who your customers are, you can simply just talk to them. But like with us, we focus on K-12 schools, as I mentioned. So we go to where they are, all the things that we talked about today. But the most important part is really approaching, asking a question, and then most importantly, listening. What are their problems? What are they, if they have an existing service provider and they're not someone that's going to do business with you right away, it's not unfair to ask the question, why did you choose this company? What do you like about that company? Just ask the question and then really listen and be prepared to make whatever adjustments are necessary based off of the feedback that you get.
To actually add one last thing to that, there's something called crowd-influenced innovation. And I think basically what that means, when you talk to your customers, you need to understand exactly what it is their pain points are. What is it that they're looking for and searching for? In general, if you listen, and like Dennis was saying, if you really listen closely, they'll tell you exactly what it is they're seeking, what they're looking for. They may not know exactly, what the shape of the product will be at the end of the day and how it's supposed to work, but they do have a certain pain point, what it is that they're seeking. And if you spend enough time talking to your customer and actually listening to them, you'll get a clue as to what it is that overall they'll be willing to pay for.
There are once you've identified your customer, you're able to talk to them. There are some documented techniques to go through that sales cycle, from the wide funnel of getting a bunch of people all the way down to making the deal. And there are gates that are pretty well defined as to let you know when you need to walk out the door and not continue pursuing this customer, or when you need to go deeper. I went through this course called the Customer-Centric Selling course. You can look it up on the web or whatever. I think there's a lot of, what's really valuable is just the outline of what are the thresholds, how do you evaluate whether a person is able to really make that decision to buy your product? Are you talking to the right person? Are you having someone else represent you when you shouldn't? There are a number of different ways of finding that out. Again, on the internet, it's just so easy to find. Customer-centric selling or signature selling are two of the old school ones that are tried and true.
I like to add one concept in there. I'm an entrepreneur too, and one thing that helps with all those things, because those things are wonderful things to do, but kind of what helps to kind of narrow those things down as well, those techniques that the gentleman said, is that you look at what's called the vertical when you're trying to find. When you're looking for customers, you say, who do I want to service? And then you pick a similar set of customers, and you learn everything it is about that similar set of customers. So if you're, like in our case, education K-12, learn everything it takes to run a school from the IT perspective and beyond, so that we can go in and solve problems. If your expertise is, I was a barber before and I know what it takes to be in the barber business and I want to provide service to barbers, then you kind of may want to think about defining that as your vertical and sell to beauticians and barbershops, and not kind of blur the line. You see a juicy opportunity for education K-12, but don't spin your wheels if you know that all your products and services are geared towards barbershops. And that kind of helps you to have repeatable patterns of success. You kind of know how to sell into it, because at this point, if we walk into a school, we kind of already know what their challenges are, their needs are. We've looked them up online. We know what to do before we even talk to them, but then we do talk to them and still listen. But that kind of helps you, is when you just kind of say, who do I want to sell to, and learn that particular vertical of customer.
Do any of you have had any experience with obtaining government contracts as part of your business?
Yeah, actually a couple, federal and I guess municipal. What about it? If you're looking at federal, I mean, there's certain steps you can go to get funding. What in that realm are you questioning?
Well, I guess can you have a profitable business based on getting government contracts? If your idea of what you want to do, it seems like that's where the money would come.
Oh, sure.
To do that business.
Yeah, government contracts come in a number of different flavors. They're trying to get away from the cost plus, which were pretty much the open-ended, they call the IDIQ, so indefinite duration, indefinite quantity, where they just have an open thing to order stuff from you. But what they're doing is they're going to set what margin you're going to make on all of that. There's a lot of paperwork involved. Sometimes you have to, depending upon what part of the government you're trying to go into and what type of services you're providing, you may have to get what's called a GSA schedule, create a GSA schedule. That's not an easy thing to do. You generally have to hire somebody who's done it before, and it takes maybe a couple of years to happen. But then once that's there, you will have a predefined list of your goods and their costs, and they can shop from you like a grocery store. And so as long as you perform to the base thresholds, you're golden in that type of situation. There are it is always competitive bidding, though, and getting in there is not the easiest thing to do as a small company. Oftentimes, they recommend that you partner with a larger company, and this is kind of how you get your government experience. Many government contracts, larger ones, require a small business or minority business component to the contract. And so what those big companies are then looking for smaller companies to partner with to fulfill that part of the contract. And that could be an easy way for you to get in, because those small companies don't necessarily have to have a GSA schedule or have a lot of extensive experience working with the government. And so that's generally the way to get into there.
And I can speak, I guess, to our experience. Prior to making the decision to focus on schools, we pretty much got business from everywhere. I mean, just, wherever it came from, it just came. So, in government being an area that we've had some unsolicited opportunities just kind of fall in our lap, and have at one point instilled, planned to ultimately expand into the federal government. Jay makes an excellent point, and I can tell it's more than just a notion of doing business with the government. Huge, tremendous opportunities, but it's a lot of things to know and learn. One resource, actually there's a couple of resources in this building. The Department of Commerce has a space here with the U.S. Export Assistance Center, and then there's also the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, PTACs as they call them, that are actually funded, or offices that are funded by the government, normally connected to a university like Wayne State. So Wayne State's PTAC on the first floor. This lady there named Abby Cheatham, and her whole job is to help you do business with the government. Her salary is paid by the Department of Defense, I believe, and it's to help you do it now. One of the other things that Jay was talking about is what they call set aside preferences. Basically, by law, there are groups, different groups that the government has to purchase, has a quota basically to spend with. One of those groups is what's called an 8A, or socially and economically disadvantaged business, which socially disadvantaged African Americans automatically fall into that category. Right? Economically disadvantaged is another portion of that criteria to be an 8A. So basically, you have to be able to say how in your life you've been economically disadvantaged. But if you meet that criteria, you get that certification, there's a 3% set aside for all government procurement that has to go to 8A companies, right? And in a lot of instances, a lot of different departments or agencies fall short of that number every year. There's also a woman-owned set aside, which is a 5%. So each of the categories that you fall into, basically, when a procurement officer is spending money, they get credit for each one towards that number, that quota. So if you're a woman and you're 8A, and like, for example, Tech Town, you're a veteran, I'm a disabled veteran. If you fall into these categories, I think it's a 3% set aside for a disabled veteran. There's one called Hub Zone, which is historically underutilized business zone, or an area that hasn't been used historically by government contractors. Tech Town falls in most of the city of Detroit is a hub zone. So if your business is located there, and I think 33% or 30, some obscure number, like 36% of your employees are from the hub zone, you get that, which is also a 3% set aside. So you get all these things, and the opportunities that have just kind of fallen in our lap without us marketing or anything else have come to us because of that, because of these different designations that we have. There's probably the very first step is to register with the Central Contractor Registry, CCR. So you register with CCR, and then your company is out there for government entities or procurement officers to potentially search for. So, and other companies like Jay mentioned that are looking for partners. So if I'm Northrop Grumman or some big defense contractor, and I have an opportunity in Michigan, and I need a service-disabled, woman-owned, hub zone company to partner with, I go into CCR and I search for that criteria, and a list comes back. So we've had both happen, where people who wanted to partner with us have come to us, and where other opportunities, like, for example, was one we had to pass on because we kind of short notice, but a VA hospital in St. Louis, Richard? Yeah. St. Louis called us up and said, hey, we have this opportunity for this service-disabled veteran-owned company to install some televisions in St. Louis, and you need a proposal by the end of the week. And,
yeah, that's always the case.
But there's nobody else bidding on it. And if you want it, it's yours. But we just didn't have enough time to know. It seemed on the surface that we would make money at it, but we had other things going on. We were kind of stretched, kind of thin, and we just decided just to pass on it. But I associate with a lot of other IT companies and business people, and it doesn't have to even be IT. I mean, I would think if I knew that I just want to do business with the government, I would probably start to reevaluate what service I'm going to do, or I'm going to provide, because there's a lot of companies, even though they're still missing their mark on a lot of these set asides. The government buys everything. They buy everything. So whether it's through a vehicle like GSA, or if it's through it's a number of different ways to sell to the government. You know, if I knew that I wanted to sell to the government, and that was my primary focus, I would probably take a fresh look at what I want to, what problem I want to solve for them.
Does the government pay on time?
Absolutely. Well,
Which
okay.
government you
Yeah,
talking about?
Yeah, which government you talking? Federal government.
Local city is.
No.
Federal government pays very, very
Yeah,
quickly.
federal government's
Yeah.
good.
Right.
City,
State, local, county, I
May
don't,
not get your money.
yeah, I
Yeah,
had a contract,
mostly likely not.
had a contract with Wayne County before, and, you know, luckily, I was partnered with another company that made sure that I got paid on time. They've been 6, 7 months, but I'm getting paid sometime.
I went a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Is anyone who hasn't asked a question?
Did you all see that special that Brian did during the summer for Black IT entrepreneurs?
Yes.
What did you think about the fact of, like you say in Detroit, you said it's not a color thing, but if you look, is there still some color problems in which if you're a high-tech company, like she suggested, well actually the Indian suggested you need a front person. That
Yes.
if you come as a black, you're not taken as seriously.
Absolutely.
So that's still...
Yeah, I did the dog and pony for this. I went to New York. I met with a bunch of capital firms. There were companies that were getting significant funding with significantly weaker plans. Was it color? I don't know. But I was the only African American in the room in just about all of these meetings. No, in all of the meetings. So to say that clearly it exists. I mean, if you look at the Silicon Valley situation and the percentage, it's, as you said, there's been a number of highlighted cases. So it exists, but at the end of the day, we're business people. And you've got to do what you need to do to make your business successful, regardless of what adversity you might face, whether it's economic, social, color, whatever.
Yeah, I definitely think that racism and discrimination exists. You know, my oldest son is named after Malcolm X, and my youngest son is named after Muhammad Ali. So I definitely, understand the history of black folks in this country, things that we've had to deal with. But yeah, it goes down to being determined. And I say it this way, that there was a time when they wouldn't let black people play professional sports, right? But somebody, I think it was Jackie Robinson, whoever, somebody wised up and said, you know what, it's dollars. If I win the game, I make more money. This guy can play better than everybody else. So, just like prejudice exists, discrimination exists, but it may be a left hook to a body, maybe it's a jab to somebody else, but if you're gonna go, you're gonna go. And I guarantee you, I believe that if you stick to whatever you're gonna get, it's just another obstacle, another bump in the road.
I think if, at some point, if we learn to collaborate with each other, I think we'll be less inclined to depend upon that, that being that venture capital cash that's sitting out there. Well, what I'm saying is, to that point, if there is a time that we can collaboratively pool our own resources.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the music industry. Everybody's talking about Clear Channel owning the waves, the airwaves. It's because no one has come up with the idea where black folks can control their media, their media pipe.
Internet radio, man, that's the...
Exactly.
It is the way.
Yeah.
Serious is going to go.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is eventually we got to figure out a way to pool our resources.
Right.
Yeah, and figure out a way to kind of defeat that.
Speaking of pooling resources and defeating hurdles, and not necessarily needing a front man to make it happen, crowdsourcing. If you put up a really good front, a really good website, explain your idea very well, and then put up your request. There are a number of crowdsourcing sites. And what crowdsourcing is, if you're not familiar with it, it's where everybody thinks that your idea is a good idea. And so everybody decides to put in $1 or $2. Next thing you know, you've raised $500,000. And so there's been a number of successful ventures that were crowdsourced. And that is one way of getting around the New York venture capitalists and the Silicon Valley people. Yep, Kickstarter is one of them.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. We definitely appreciate all your advice and insight. This time, I think we have a presentation from Leslie.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all. I think you did an outstanding job. Starting with Matthew, who volunteered. Didn't really volunteer, but you did an outstanding job as a coordinator, and I really thank you for that. And I think it also gave us a chance to get to know you a little bit better, because I'm new to the organization, and I'm very dazzled by your intellect to speak with these gentlemen on the remarkable things that they're doing very effectively. We got a lot of good information out to the audience because of the way you handled it and the way you were prepared. So I'd like to give you a hand, first of all. Then I'd like to say to the panelists, I think you did an outstanding job. I think that the chemistry between the three of you, you were polite, you were gentlemen. I think you were very knowledgeable, and I'm just really in awe of you and very impressed by you. And I hope you will continue to be receptive to us if we ask you to come back on other topics.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And what would you give our panelists a round of applause? Now, if you would come forward, each of you, I would like to present you with a certificate. Alfred Green, I would like to present you with this certificate from the BDPA for your participation in this panel discussion. And also, I would like to present to you a certificate that we owed you back from a previous presentation as well. So I hope you will.
You get to know me a little bit.
Yeah, I hope you will forgive us for being late on that.
For September 20th, we appreciate you being here, and I present you with that certificate.
And then here for November 15th, for the panel discussion on entrepreneurship. Thank you so much. Thank you. Then we'd like to present this certificate to Terrence Willis. Especially on short notice, you were able to fill in place of Dwayne Carson, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the experience and that you came with. As you said, you were a father. I'm sure, some days that, really motivates you to do what you do, and to have something to pass on to your children. And I appreciate the comments you made about your faith and, how that keeps you, fighting and breathing in and making it work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. J?
Yes.
Oh, okay. When I was handed over the certificates, actually, I had a copy of another time that you participated as a presenter. You had a certificate. So I'm very impressed with let the audience know this is a doctor, Dr. Jay Harrison. I'm so impressed with you. And thank you for sharing your experience. And I hope we can continue to network with you and learn more from you, and certainly your inspiration to all of us.
Right, thanks. It's an honor to be here, really. Thank you.
And last but not least, Matthew.
Absolutely.
I think you did an outstanding job, and even though you're our BDPA member, I think that you deserve a round of applause for doing the role that you did as the moderator. You did an excellent job. And I have to say, I ran out of certificates, but I will replace this one with a real one. All right, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to bring our president, Beverly Moore, up so that she can welcome our guests and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm Beverly Moore. I'm the president of the Detroit chapter. And I just want to take a few minutes before we finish out and just introduce myself and introduce the chapter. Some of you know us, some of you may, I think, is anyone here for the first time? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to let you know that BDPA is a member-focused organization. We are a national organization. The Detroit chapter has been around for 30 years this year. And we focus on helping professionals in IT develop themselves from the classroom to the boardroom. BDPA is an organization that got started because two our founders, Earl Pace and the late David Wimberly, were at a technical conference, and they recognized that themselves were the only ones of color in that conference, so they started BDPA probably over 35 years ago, 36 years ago. So today we're still around, and we're still helping and promoting IT and helping professionals develop themselves. And the Detroit chapter is been around 30 years again, and I appreciate you coming out and participating with us, especially on short notice. We kind of put this panel together, and I'm really excited to see the turnout that we had for November, the week before Thanksgiving. We were really concerned about that. And so this is really great. I appreciate you coming out. I also want to take a second to tell you that we are a national organization. We have over 40 chapters across the United States. So any major city you go in, there's a BDPA chapter, which means that as soon as you hit the ground, you've got a network when you're a member of BDPA. I have some cards here. I'm going to put them on the table there. And it's save the date, because this is the date of our national conference that's coming up next year. And I tell you, our national conference is something that once you go to one, you will go every year. It's an awesome network of people that you'll meet from around the country. Also want to invite you out, because in January we're going to be doing a strategy and planning for the Detroit chapter for next year. And I like to get more people involved in the Detroit chapter. There are some opportunities for leadership in the Detroit chapter, and one of the advantages in taking on a leadership role in the Detroit chapter is you can't lose your job. You know, you can exploit that entrepreneurial spirit that you might have, and develop those leadership skills that you may be falling over yourself at work and almost ready to lose your job because you're not doing the best at it. But you can develop those here with BDPA. We have some opportunities for leadership to participate in our board. We have a strategy and planning meeting that's coming up the weekend of January the 25th. And also next year is an election year. So if you have real big inspirations, join now, and you can run for president. You know, you always wanted to be president of something. Why not BDPA? So, right now. So, those are a couple things that are coming up. Were there a couple of?
Yeah, December 20th, the holiday mixer.
December 20th, holiday mixer, and also January 12th is our HSCC open house and student orientation. So if you have high school students yourself and you want to expose them to our high school computer competition, that's when the enrollment and the orientation happens, and that's going to be in January. It may be at the CompuWare, but keep checking on our website because that information will be on there soon, coming up.
Yeah, just more about the holiday mixer. We're still working on finalizing the site, but today we did get a corporate sponsor.
Oh,
So they're going to pick up the tab.
awesome.
I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. but we do have a sponsor. We just need to finalize the details, and we'll be collaborating with NABA, National Association of Black Accountants, the Black Journalists, Black MBAs, so, and NASB. So it'll be a really good event like last year.
Yeah, last year it was an awesome event. We had close to 150 people turned out for that event, and it was all free, and it was excellent food and a lot of good networking. So there were a couple people who said this is their first meeting that hadn't met anyone.
I've been here before, it's just been a while.
It's been a while. Well, why don't you reintroduce yourself?
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, what's your comfort?
My name is Tamar Poole. I've been a part of the BDPA before, but I rarely ever come to the meetings a lot. And I tried to commit earlier this year that I was trying to get involved, but life happened, work, travel, and so towards the end of this year I said, well, I got the email, and I said, let me come back out and try it. And it was a good event, something I'm very interested in, entrepreneurship. It's something I tried my hand at and went back to project management work, and now I'm still reconsidering about 2013 and throwing my head back into entrepreneurship. So I'm excited about coming out tonight. It's a good forum, and it's a good thing to be a part of it. I'm going to try to commit to be more active in BDPA and following me.
Excellent, excellent. Being a member of BDPA and being involved with BDPA would get you front-hand access to these people here. You could call them by first name. So welcome, and thanks for coming out. Is there anyone else?
Again, my name is Dottie Charford. I used to be a member a few years ago, quite a few years ago. But so currently, right now, what I do is I'm the president of a Congress of Communities, which is a community organization in Southwest Detroit area, and I sit on a couple other boards. So I'm away from the technology field, and I kind of came tonight to support Beverly and Leslie in uplifting their chapter here tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Dottie has been a member for a while. She's been to a few conferences, national conferences.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the
We
day.
got history.
Yeah, we got
So
history.
I'm glad to see you come out, Dottie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, I've been to a meeting before. I'm not a member. I do want to join. I'm partnered with Terrence and IC Datacom. We're minority-owned, veteran-owned, veteran disabled-owned IT firm here in Techtown. Black professional, or black data professional. So I love the group. I've been to a few meetings and I absolutely love it. It's the greatest energy, and thank you for just doing what you guys do.
Great, great. We look forward to your membership. Right now, I would like to quickly introduce some of the Detroit chapter board members, and they can tell you about some of the things that they are doing in their committees and groups, and hopefully get some interest that you find something that you might be interested in. Let's start with Cliff.
Cliff Samuels Jr. I'm the VP of Technology Automation Right now, still trying to reboot the TAC organization, trying to get our folks back together. So check out our website, Facebook page, Twitter page, and LinkedIn for information on what's happening. We'd like to get more in-depth seminars together on some technology or whatever interests the members. And also, I'm a part of, because you were saying you're part of a community organization. I work with the Digital Detroit Justice Coalition also.
I'm familiar.
And I've been there on their discotheques. So I've presented at those events.
You did one in 4217?
Yes.
That's my community.
Yes, that was at that one.
Yeah.
I did the Internet University presentation.
Okay.
Great. We have Michelle.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Michelle Morgan, and I serve as the VP of Finance for the BDPA Detroit chapter. I do apologize for my casual dress. I'm off tomorrow, so it's my Friday. So what I do is, in addition to looking at the chapter finances, is to look at potential sources for finding funds for our organization, especially to help with our HSCC high school computer competition. Right now I'm working with one of our national board members on trying to exploit and find out more about the crowdsourcing sites that are out there, and just, finding out new ways to raise funds for the organization and keep our money. We don't have much, but we're hoping to change that in the future. So if you're interested, like money, please let me know. Thank you.
Yeah. Michelle has the opportunity to work with one of the BDPA longstanding members, Wayne Hicks. If you're on the BDPA mailing list, you have gotten something from Wayne Hicks. I mean, he is like awesome at what he does, and he has successfully raised millions of dollars for BDPA. And so if you're working with Michelle on that fundraising, you get to have access to Wayne Hicks and learn how to do what he does. And that's an awesome skill. So, opportunity there. You've met our host for this meeting.
Hi, I'm Leslie Hampton. I'm VP of Programs and Professional Development. And I just like to invite anybody who's interested to participate with me on my committee. I need a lot of help. We are responsible for bringing the program every month, and we're fortunate that we have had it laid out for us, but we do need to get the presenters each month. In January, the December holiday mixer was mentioned, but in January we have contracting salary negotiations. And in February we have Microsoft Windows 8 outlook. So if you have any thoughts about people who would be good presenters on those topics, I would appreciate it if you would contact me call me or my email, either one. And I'd like to invite anybody who's not a member of BDPA to join. It's well worth it. It's like everything else, the more you put into it, the more you can get out of it. And so I just invite you to join with me in program committee. Be glad to have you. Also looking forward to the upcoming January meeting to set strategy for next year and set some goals and targets and try to reach those goals, help out with membership. Just want to bring topics that are of interest to you. Thank you.
Do you have to be a member to present?
Not to present.
What was the question?
You have to be a member to present.
No.
No.
And what kind of thing would you want to present for Windows 8?
What probably what it is, what it has to offer, what sets it apart.
I have Windows 8, sign me up.
Oh, okay.
There you go, you got yourself a presenter.
Okay. All right. No, but I would say you do have to be a member for the the strategy planning meeting. And I would especially like to see, you know, you young people with your enthusiasm and excitement and creativity. I'd love to see you guys participate. So you come to a meeting and share your good ideas with us and energize, you know, everybody moving into the new year. We can draw more young people into the organization. That's my goal for next year.
Certifications in IT are somewhat required for a lot of career advancement. If you're interested in advancing your career through some types of certification, those type of programs would also fall under Leslie. And if you are in need of that certification, what better way to get it than to work with Leslie and put together a program to get other people like yourself that want it, and there you will have an opportunity to do that. I'm working on a new certification for project management as a agile project manager certification through PMI. And so if anyone is interested in studying for that, I would be more than happy to work with a study group to help prepare for that. So that's just one opportunity there, but any other types of certifications or technical certifications that you have a need for, we are the organization to help put together some way to help you obtain those certifications.
I had a question about obtaining those certifications. Is there a way to obtain like the free test vouchers? Like when you take the test to get certified?
Yes, I posted on our website. Microsoft is offering some. Check out their offers. Go to Microsoft.com and search for their free offers. Sometimes they offer retake vouchers for the tests, or even a voucher for the newer tests. Like I think Windows Server 2008, they have a study group online, and they may even offer a discount on that. So depending on which certification you have to looking for, check those websites. If it's CompTIA, check CompTIA if they have any current discounts. Cisco, I don't think ever. Do they ever give a discount? I don't think so.
No.
But Microsoft definitely does in the newer software because they want more people to adopt it. So if you're definitely looking at the Microsoft route, check on their website.
I don't know.
Is there no certification?
Is there anyone here that's interested in Cisco certification? Well, you know where to find us. Well, you know, Weston, we do have some certification material for Cisco that we paid for that you know is really open to anyone, BDPA for that matter, if they want to get access to. As well as there are some certifications. I'm not sure AM and FE certifications. I don't know if there's no charge for those tests.
Yeah, it's a $65 charge, but it's the easy cert. It's the account manager and field engineer training for a company, small, medium size, or SMB select certification. Their real Cisco certs are not as widely known as the CCNA, of course, or the higher level professional grade Cisco certs, but they're $65. You take the online test.
But I'll even go as far as to say this, though. You know, if there is anyone here that's interested, if you're looking to work in that capacity, to be associated with IC Datacom, I'll pay for your exam. That's not, you know, you pass the test, I'll reimburse you the cost for the test. And, you know, training materials are available. We have a full Cisco curriculum that's available until the end of the year. And then, you know, we haven't made a decision whether or not we're going to invest in it again, but it's for any of our employees or people that are associated with it. So if anyone wants to take advantage of that, just see me after this if they can. And if, you know, the field engineer and account manager certifications, that's pretty much, that training is available anytime. So if you associate with us and you're interested in working in that capacity, you know, opportunity wide open.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So besides having a speed dating website, I also work in the daytime, and I work for Strategic Staffing Solutions. So I'm putting together a resume pool. So So do you know of anyone who is looking for a job and is a developer, tester, analyst, what else am I looking for? Hold on. .NET developer. We need a lot of developers in Detroit. Send them my way.
Awesome. You can send us something and we'll put it on the website.
Great.
Okay, great. Last but not least, our president-elect.
Okay. Hi again, I'm Matt. Really good at stirring the pot. No, I'm just kidding. I really help out where I can with everyone. Try to not focus on
You don't have to
one
convince
spot.
me.
Really try to just help everyone and make sure that everyone's that the communications are clear. So I'm glad that everyone came out tonight and enjoyed the panel discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a few refreshments, but be sure to pick up one of these flyers. There's also one of our books that we sent out about information technology. Feel free to take one of these, Diversity Careers. A lot of good information in this book. Feel free to get one. When you become a member, you'll get these in the mail, but feel free to take one to that. Thank you.